Good evening and welcome to Between the Lanes, episode number 110. I'm Ron.
I'm Shane.
We're here to talk slot cars. Big week of racing last weekend in the Midwest and Texas. Between the Lanes, episode number 110. Find us on YouTube. Slot Racers, the channel. I don't know why. There we go. That's better. 110 episodes, some special episodes, and some how-to videos. Find us on Facebook. Between the Lanes is the page. Race results, the winning reports. So last week, it was last Wednesday or Tuesday. I don't remember which day.
I think it's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I think.
Well, if we taped the show on Wednesday, it started last Wednesday. So the annual USRA Car Nationals took place down at Slot Car Raceway, LLC in Houston, Texas. P.A. Watson, a former USRA Group 7 national champion, owns the raceway. PA's been a raceway owner for many years, and he hosted this year's event as well as last year's event. So last week's show we talked about the Group F race, and we didn't have any photos or anything because nothing had been put up. And I don't have a podium picture for Group F, but Jason Holmes pictured there with, I don't know,
They called him something.
I was going to say this is like it's like Thor Slot Car God or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jason Holmes won the Group F race. Matt Taylor was second. Paul Peterson was third. And I never seen a name for this thing. So
yeah, it was in the description.
Okay.
Like above this picture, it was like everyone was taking their picture with.
Yeah, there was other guys that posed with this. I don't know what that is.
It looks like a transformer.
It's almost like a transformer, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the one motor 12 race, Bernie Schatz was the winner. JT Tufflos was second. And David Etheridge, longtime Texas racer, along with JT. David was third. In the Hillbilly 12 race, again, no podium picture, but Jason Holmes won that. So here he is having dinner, his victory dinner. Archie King was second. Shelby Thomas was third. And then 27, no, this was Cobalt 12, excuse me. Les Wright was the winner, Mr. Nice Guy Les Wright. He won the Group 12. Cobalt 12 race. Shelby Thomas was second. Jeff Mack third. I think Jeff came in from Europe because I think he's still stationed over.
I think he's in Germany or something.
Yeah, so he came over. And then 27 light, Timmy Skirka flew in from New York to win that race. Les Wright was second in that race. So, I mean, Les had a pretty good first and a second. That's hard to beat. So, and then Mikey Matero was third. And then in the two-motor open race, Larry Pellegrini from New York, Port Jeff Raceway, Long Island, was the winner of the two-motor. I think that was a big surprise win when he pulled. I think everybody thought Timmy was probably going to win.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, honestly.
And, Timmy kind of led early, and Larry just ran a real steady Eddie race.
Did you watch the race?
I didn't watch it on YouTube. I kind of was watching a little bit of the
live feed or whatnot.
The lap
thing.
Yeah, the lap totals.
Right.
And so Larry pulled off the win there. J.D. Mack was second, and then Timmy Skirka wound up third. So then on Saturday, Chubby flew in from New York and wound up winning the TQing and winning the Group 7 race. Archie King was second, and P.A. Watson, last year's and defending USRA Group 7 national champion, was third. So Archie and Chubby had a really good race. I mean, Chubby always had a 20 to 40 lap lead, but that's not much in an open race. You know what I mean? So
right, yeah.
Archie was right there in case anything would have happened to Chubby. Nothing happened to Chubby. Chubby drove a really good race. He was fast.
Yeah, I watched some of that.
I watched a little bit. There was just so many track. I mean, Darrell Waltrip always says, cautions breed cautions. Well, track calls breed track calls.
I watched when Chubby was on the red lane. I watched that whole heat.
Right.
And I looked, and I was like, okay, so Chubby's on red. He won the heat.
Right.
And I was like, he's your winner.
Right, well, yeah, as long as he doesn't have any bad luck, for sure. But
Yeah, yeah, because I don't think he hit anything, and he was just clicking
right,
laps off, and I was like, yeah, his
and
car.
and a lot of the races I watched, I mean, a lot of guys had really good heats on red lane. Like I think
Right,
red, you avoid a lot of the crashing. Other than finger,
right.
everybody seems to be able to keep the car up in the top turn for the most part. So the only turn you got to really worry about on red is the finger,
Right.
and then but as you go down the track, you got to start watching from both sides. I mean,
Yeah.
flaming arrows are being shot from all directions. So, um, yeah, there was a lot of people like on one of the races on YouTube. You know, they got the comments over there, and somebody's
Right.
like, "There's a lot of track calls," and then like, well, there was
I would almost guarantee there was less track calls this year than there was last year.
probably, and then
Yeah,
there
because
was like,
last year I was just like, I mean,
yeah,
I was getting aggravated because it's like these guys aren't even racing, you know?
right. Well, I mean, in this race this year, there was times only 4 guys on the track running,
Right.
maybe 5 guys, but um,
Yeah, because I think the end of the race it was 4 guys. I think still.
4 or 5 were left standing at
Yeah.
the end, and there was a total of 10.
Right.
And I really found it strange that they ran around robin.
Right.
Well, I think in the rule book it says there are to be no round robin mains at the national event. But
Right.
I guess if those in attendance,
Yeah. They say let's roll. Let's roll.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know if they would have put like 2 in the main through qualifying, and the other 8 would have ran to eliminate 2, or if they'd
Right.
put 4 in and ran 6 to eliminate 2. I don't know how they would have. I didn't look at the
Right.
rule book, but yeah. So that was brought up too on one of the comments. But yeah, one guy was like, "Well, they had 13 track calls that segment, and they had 17 that segment." I'm like, "Who is sitting here keeping count?" Like,
Yeah. How can you count? I mean, I enjoy. I mean, like I made a comment on one of the posts. Was it this? No, it wasn't this race. It was a different race. So never mind.
okay,
Yeah, how's it going? Different race.
all right, moving along. The OCC started off their 2019-2020 series at A&J Raceway in Elyria, Ohio, and it's the former Hobby Haven track, or Hobby, yeah. Hill Climb used to be the Parma Test track. In the GT1B class, Gary Vineyard was the winner. Gary Sartorius was second. Jeffrey Hennis was third. And in the GT1A class, Mike Lear was the winner. No, sorry, this is Group 10. Okay, so Group 10, Mike Lear was the winner. Brian Lear was second. Jeff Hennis was third. And this is GTP podium, which is the same podium as Group 10 with Mike Lear the winner, Brian Lear second, Jeff Hennis third. And until we go to the next one. Okay, so I guess I don't have the photo. GT1A, Brian Lear was the winner, and Jeff Hennis was second. And no, that's wrong. Mike Lear was second. Jeff Hennis was third in the GT1 class. And I don't have the photo, but you've seen all 3 of those guys already, so
Yeah.
you can sort it out. East Coast Flexi Series was at Scale Speedway in York, Pennsylvania. The stock car race, Bobby Davis Jr. was the winner. This is actually LMP picture. Bobby Davis Jr. was the winner. Mark Daniels was second. And Donnie Teal, who's the raceway owner, was third. And then I didn't have a picture of the stock car race. But in stock car, Bobby Jr. won. Pops Davis was second, and Donnie Teal was third in that as well. At the NorCal GT Series, this was the final race of that 3-race series. I guess they said something. They had some kind of lap counter problems or some kind of technical issue with the track or something. So they only ran 2 classes. Phoenix GT was won by Justin Colvin. Brian Boots Nudie was second, and John Wilbur was third. And then in the Hawk GT class, Justin was the winner again, pulling off sweep for the day. Chris Dre second, and Corey Williams was third. SCRRA, Southern California Retro Racing Association, was in action at Buena Park Raceway, Buena Park, California. F1 was won by Brian Warmack, Mil Conroy second, Gary Donahoe was third. And then in Can-Am, Mil Conroy was the winner. Bill Vanderzeel was second, and Brian Warmack was third in that. And winner. Oh, before I finish with winner, chicken dinner. The Sano Retro Race was also ran last weekend at Chicagoland Raceway. There was no pictures, podium drivers posted anywhere. And if they get posted sometime soon, maybe we'll have them on the show next week or something. But in the GTC FK class, Chuck Gamble was the winner, Matt Sheldon second, and Marv W. was third. In the GTC Pro class, Ross Scharf was the winner. Howie Ersner was second, Willie Custer third. Flat track Formula One, Chuck Gamble was the winner, Kevin Van Pelt second. Mike Swiss was third. F1 on the King track, Willie Custer was the winner, Andrew Ford second, Greg Fox third. Can-Am on the flat track, Mike Swiss was the winner, Kevin Van Pelt second, Chuck Gamble third. And then in stock car, around the King track, Willie Custer was your winner, Andrew Ford second, Greg Fox third. And the final race of the weekend was Can-Am on the King, Willie Custer winner, Howie Ersner second, Greg Fox third. So there's your Sano reports.
Sunday.
I missed the Walker Tuesday, Thursday, whatever. But
Yeah.
that's all right. You do fine. All right, so this weekend would be the 21st. So we got F2000 wing cars at Alpha Raceway. We've got the Mid-South, which you will be attending at Turn and Burn in Moxville, North Carolina. Retro East is in action. USCA is in action. Rocky Mountain Retro Racing Association is in action. It's the, I think, 7th or 8th annual Retro Summit Race at Mark's Model World for BRS and Retro. Following weekend, the 28th, you got FNRS at Race-O-Rama, North Baltimore, Ohio. Dallas Slot Cars has Texas Retro. We have the Retro Rumble at Fast Eddie's in Pinellas Park, Florida. That's the 2nd annual. And the first week of October, the weekend of the 5th, we've got USRA World Championship starts in Corby, England. The Central Illinois Slot Series will be kicking off their series there at Whiskers. Pin Jersey is at Fast Tracks. And then the Sunset 240 Enduro race will be at Mid-America Naperville, which is part of the Midwest Flat Track Series. And then the following weekend, the 12th, that'll be the finish up of the Israel Worlds, along with the Mid-American Hard Body Nats at Naperville, Mid-America. Florida Slot Car Series is in action at Raceway.biz. Pin Ohio is at Fast Tracks, and Retro East is in action. And then the weekend of the 19th, you got Midwest Spec Series kicking off their series. Formula 2000s at Lucky Bob's. USCA is in action, and the BRS is in action as well. And then the final weekend of October, so I'm giving you like 6 weeks here. Is at Washington, Gator Retro Racing Region. Dallas Slot Cars will be hosting the Texas Two-Step Retro Race. And Pin Jerseys at Trains and Lanes. And I know that there's a new schedule coming out sometime today or tomorrow for East Coast Flexi Series for their winter series. So mark your calendars. Okay, so we don't do happy birthdays on the show. You know, something I kind of kicked around a long time ago. Should we? And it's like, no, because I don't know everybody's birthdays, and I can go by what you see on Facebook. But this week we have like a special birthday, and I seen this on Facebook yesterday, and I mean, this is like a big shout out. So this gentleman's name is Derek Howell. He's from England. I guess he runs at the Bolton Slot Car Club in England, because that's who posted this. And they said, "Happiest 90th birthday." And they said, "UK's oldest racer, question mark. maybe the world's oldest racer. And like, I don't know of anybody that's kind of actively racing slot cars that is 90 years old. So
Right.
I'm not saying he is, and I'm not saying he isn't, but I think it's pretty awesome that guy don't even look 90 for one. Okay.
Nah. Yeah.
But he's 90. I mean, when they posted this yesterday, he'd been 90 years old, 262 days. So if there's anybody out there that's older than him, I'd like to hear about it.
It's still racing.
Maybe we can figure out who is the world's oldest slot car racer. Not that I think it's a big important thing. Yeah, so I think it was pretty awesome that Derek is 90 years old. He's still racing slot cars.
Yeah.
And I just, happy.
I'd still like to be racing slot cars or around the track at 90 if I make it to 90.
I just hope I look as good. If I make it tonight, I hope I look as good as him,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, he doesn't look 90 years old to begin with, so.
No?
Not to me.
No.
So, hey, happy birthday, Derek. And that's all I have for that portion of the show. So, I'm trying to think. Last week we talked about the set screws, and then, I don't know, for some reason I didn't write it down. Somebody sent a note in, or maybe somebody on the phone said something about, maybe it'll come back to me. I can't. Just got to look at my papers here. I don't see anything.
Yeah, pre-show, my workbench here was a mess, and I was like, I'm going racing this weekend. I kind of need to.
Yeah, mine's a big mess too, and I got
tied up a little bit, so I kind of got a game plan now.
I've been kind of lazy, and I haven't got everything done that I should get done, but 3 or 4 hours, I should have everything ready to go, hopefully.
Yeah, I was sick the beginning of the week, and then catching up from the hurricane as far as work goes.
Right.
And all. So, yeah, days probably the earliest I've got off this whole week, so it kind of worked out.
So did you see the post that Mike Lear had posted last week about putting the shrink wrap around the front wings of the Flexi chassis?
No.
Okay. So.
Yes, maybe I did.
Okay.
Because it was red, wasn't it?
Red or black?
Okay.
Yeah. Because he said he put the shrink wrap around. Because when I read the post, I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting concept.
There's people commenting about putting like bulletproofing and stuff, right?
Right.
I think Danny Zona said they used to use like balls of solder. Was it that post?
Okay. So okay, we can go into the history of this, I guess, or some of the history of it.
Right.
So basically, what Mike was, because we all try and run our cars as low as possible to the track, keep the wings down as low as we can, without dragging real heavy.
Right.
And a lot of times on some tracks, you'll get them where you want, but then you'll have arcing or scratch marks in the center section of your chassis because when it goes through the bank,
it
flexing and bowing, and he obviously doesn't want that to happen. So in order to keep that from happening, you got to raise your car up by adding guide spacers to keep it from arcing, sparking in the center. But now your front wings are up off the track. So he came with the idea of putting shrink wrap tubing around the wings and shrinking it. And then, so like if we put spacer in to raise the center section, when he did that, the wings out here got raised as well.
Right.
So we got to take up this gap. So he put the shrink wrap around. And I mean, a lot, guys will use bulletproofing on their tips. Like Terry Watson, he does a lot of stick. He sticks in on there with double stick tape. I mean, it's a quick, easy thing if you're in practice.
Right.
And you got your car like where you think it should be.
Right.
And it's barely dragging.
You want to see?
Go over and you can put 5 thousandths or 10 thousandths. Double stick tape on the bottom and go out and run your car, and either it's going to be better or worse. So I guess if you add 5 thousandths, that makes your car better. Then maybe you can take 5 thousandths spacer out. If a lot of times you won't have any spacer in. You're as low as you can go.
Yeah.
But you still got that little bit of gap you got to take up.
Right.
You need bulletproofing. So it's another thing that something you have to pry. And my first thing was when I read what Brian did, I'm thinking, well, or Mike, I'm thinking, well, after you rub so much on the track, the heat shrink's going to rub through and fling off.
Right.
Your car's going to be tipped.
Or I would think that heat shrink would be too abrasive and would catch.
Well, what he does is he puts clear fingernail polish.
Gotcha.
Shrinks it around, puts clear fingernail polish.
Right.
And I mean, it's no harm, no foul. If you put it on your car and you go and you don't like it, you can just slice it with an X-Acto and peel it off.
Yeah.
And you're back to normal.
Right.
So
If anything, it may also help too if you take a wall shot. Those edges may not pierce the body, being that it's rounded from the heat shrink.
I didn't think about that, but that's a good thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of a neat little topic. So, I mean, you're fixing one problem, you cause a problem, but then you put that on to fix the problem.
Right.
So, but like I said, you got a plane in the car. The back's got to clear by 50, and there's no clearance in the front.
Right.
You've got a plane. So if your chassis is flexing, at that point, what is the actual clearance? Is it 20 thousandths or is it between 50 and 0?
Right.
So if it's in the center, you would think, well, it has to be 25 there. Now, if you raise up the center section,
right,
and you offset that by adding underneath the wings, now does the car handle worse because it's higher in the flatter turns where it's not arcing? You know what I mean? And
right.
it's just something you have to test. I mean,
like if I have a car that's arcing in the middle because of the flex.
Yeah, I just let it arc.
I mean, yeah, well, I just take clear packet tape
Right.
on the bottom.
Right,
You know?
right. But I mean, even though you take the arc out of it, you're still bottoming out.
Yeah.
But it's for such a millisecond, I don't think it's really killing people.
Yeah. Right.
So I think it's, each his own. Test it, try it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like you. Sometimes it's just like, oh, it's arcing. And they're like,
the
it's
question
too low.
is,
It's like, no, it's flexing,
Then the question is it legal? Well, the rules say you can add tape to the bottom of the chassis. It doesn't say you can add anything else. But I mean, come on, it's shrink wrap.
I mean,
you could put tape up there. Take up the gap or whatever. But a lot of times the tape will want to unravel, peel off, whatever. So
right,
that doesn't work. So the shrink wrap thing was kind of ingenious.
Right.
So, but like you said, you'd think it'd be grippy.
Yeah.
But with clear fingernail polish, it's going to be nice, smooth, and kind of slick.
Yeah, it'd be like put fingernail polish on the fronts of the 4.5-inch cars.
Right.
Right.
So, when we started racing flexi cars, we raced Parma flexi cars. They didn't have any wings.
Right.
Okay, so like back in the day, we had to have a 16th clearance under the whole car, front, back.
Yeah. Same with me when I started.
So, back then the big tuning thing was a lot of guys didn't get this, but you could make your front wheels became your front wings.
Right.
Like if you ran 5/8 fronts on your flexi car,
mm-hmm.
that kept the car from tipping in the front. Okay.
Right.
But not everybody got that. Everybody always wanted to run the smallest front, half-inch front.
Yeah, it'd be light. Yeah.
Right. Smaller, lighter.
Yeah.
So some guys got caught on to the 5/8 front thing. The only problem with the electric car, and it always was a problem, was just having to run that 16th front axle, and they would bend. And if your axle,
so they'd bend down, yeah.
Yeah. So if you could drive and not crash, and you would run your axle either solder or rotating,
right,
and use those wheels as your riggers, you'd go pretty good. But one crash, if it's solid and how it gets bent, stop and bend it up out of the way. Or if it's rotating and it bends, now you've got a problem.
Yeah.
So most guys would just, like we used to run in GTP, we always had to run 5/8 fronts. We'd start the axle solid, and then we would bend the 5/8 fronts up on the axle. You got a lot of, is that caster or camber?
Yeah.
Camber, I think. So
I think camber's in, caster's out. I think.
one is back and forth, and one is in and out. I think it's camber's in and out this way.
Right.
Caster's frontward, backward.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
We'll
sure.
have someone tell us in the comments.
Either
We
right,
should know this. I should. Yeah, I should know this because I think I've worked on big cars.
We should do this with big cars. It's like
Yeah, but it's.
Caster,
I just know the numbers. It's like, yeah, I know I want these numbers.
Camber, and then caster. So anyway,
I still think caster's out and camber's in. I think.
no, one is the forward backwards position. One is
I think that's called something totally different.
Well, then you have toe in and toe out, which is the front.
Yeah, toe in, toe out. You got caster and camber.
No, camber.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay. So, yeah, we would run, I'm going to call it camber.
Okay.
Big time camber.
Right.
And then not worry. Yeah, sometimes you get hit and they bend, but never got bent down to where you had to stop and fix it.
Right.
But then at some point the cut down guide came out. So now you guys would run those.
Right.
And over time, more and more places changed to less clearance in the front. Well, then the champion car, I guess the first car to come out with wings was the Racer Products car, but they were part of the pan, which was on top of the center section, so they were of no effect. And then the champion, I think the champion after I'm supposed to do a history on the flexi cards, and I'm slowly getting there, but it hasn't happened. I think the champion XEs came out and they had wings in the front, or they were one of the first cars to have wings, and they had a higher guide tongue coining or pocket.
Right.
So they would be lower with a standard guide than what a standard guide on a flexi car would be.
Right.
And if you put a cut down guide, it may really get low. So then if you still had to run 16th in the front, we started dimpling. We called dimpling the wings. You take a punch or a scratch awl or whatever, hit it with a hammer and make a small indentation on the bottom of the wing. So like that wouldn't really clear the tech thing, but everything around it would.
Right.
So you kind of had this little round thing out there, less friction, and it stops this. And I don't think I ever ran a dimple car, and like where I was racing at the time, it was like the dimples are not allowed, but there was places that didn't care or let them run it, whatever. So I mean, basically, just as time went on, more and more cars got made with front wings.
Right.
And then the trick was to get the front as low as you could. And I remember one time, like USRA to skirt. Okay, so what you would have is you would have guys come to tech with a cut down guide, and they'd have their braid jacked up.
Yeah.
When you put on a tech block, the guide acted as a spring, and they had
braid. Yeah.
Well, then they would get their cars flat in their braid.
Yeah, and they're slammed. Yeah.
So how do we solve that problem? So then the USRA started teching the cars with you took your braid out, or you just bent your braid up, and the blade sat on the tech block. And you had to have 32 thousandths. Then when you folded your braid down, your car was going to have 50 to 60 thousandths.
Right.
And then, I don't know when it was, but all that kind of just went away over time. And
yeah, because I think when I first started racing, it was the same thing, the back and the sides.
Yeah.
And then when I really, really got into racing, it was the TOA rule, so you had to have the back, the sides, and the front.
Yeah, all around the car. Yeah.
Yep. And then it went to, I want to say when I first started racing Mid-South, they did the back and then they did the sides. So we would cheat it up because the champions, we just put a piece of paper, raise the pan up, then you get the car, you'd do that and throw the paper out. And,
all right. Well, yeah, I can remember going somewhere and Like, okay, put this paper under here and put the car on the track, and I'd run it, see how many laps it'd take for it to blow out.
Right.
And I got it down to where, I could just like go like on a hill climb. I could go in front of me and around the world, and it'd fly out of the car.
Be going by that. Yeah.
So the car would settle. And
Oh yeah. And then the funniest one was we had the roof height.
oh yeah, roof heights.
So it's like they would check it. Oh, you're too low, so we just stack another sticker on top of it.
Right. Or you could put the paper under the pan and lift it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Either or. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. There was all kinds of little tricks of the trade or whatever.
Yeah, because I remember running my car one time. I was like, God, this thing sucks. And I'm like, oh, I still got the paper in it. Yeah, because it was like just locked. And I'm like, why isn't it moving?
Right.
That paper, I had it wedged in there. Yeah. Then over I'd say about a third race of that season, they kind of caught on to the paper trick.
And I don't think any group goes with roof heights anymore. Like,
No, we
heck.
Right. I don't.
There's body rules that say, bodies have to have a certain body roof height before they're approved or whatever, but
Right.
we don't measure.
I
mean, like in my slot car box, in my one tray, like I call it my measuring tool tray.
Right.
I still have a 4.5 inch height.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
There's like 5 tech tools in there I haven't used in, I don't know how, 10 years or 15 years.
Yeah. The one, where's mine at? Mine's right here in my box. One that Pete made.
Okay.
Yeah. That one.
Right.
Yep.
But there's no roof height on there.
No. And I mean, honestly.
I still carry tech tools for roof height that I don't need.
Yeah. No, I took that out of the box a long time ago.
But there's other stuff on there like width. I mean. But
I used to leave it in the box to draw the circle for the tires because you don't have the circle.
Yeah. But I don't even use it for that.
Yeah. Now I got the thing from the one show you did with mountain bodies that has all the circles on it. That's what I use now.
Right.
And before that, I had like a little punch.
Right.
I think Les Wright made it, or someone made it that would fit inside of the hub, and you just drew around it.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, because that Mike posted that, and then my ex-brother-in-law who used to race, who's kind of racing a little bit now, he called me last Friday. Like, how low do you want the front ears to the track?
Right.
And I was like, well, the lower you can get it,
yeah, the better.
Better. I said, I don't think you want the whole front bumper to be black. Like
right.
Really dragging the track.
Right.
So if it's all black across the front, and we've talked about this before on the show. I mean,
yeah.
If the whole front bumper is black, you need to add thousandths and clean it off, run some more laps, see if it's better. It'll definitely have less black on it. And then, okay, that's better. Well, we'll put another 5 in it and see if it better works. Just keep adding and subtracting until you get it to where it's best. I mean, I think on a super flat track, you can have it black across the bumper, and it's probably an okay thing, good thing. But when you get on a bank track, you don't want that.
Or a bumpy track. It's got a little character to it.
Right.
Yeah. Or if the braid's inconsistent and it's wavy.
Right. Or if you have like huge difference in
braid
depths around the track. You want to set it up for the deepest recess.
We had a tri-oval that was like that, and I call it, I guess, turn 1, the lead on turn.
Right.
It was like 30 thousandths, and the rest of the track was 15.
Yeah.
I set the car up for the 15. They're like, well, how do you get through there so fast? I was like, I don't lift. And everyone couldn't get it. And I was like, I go through there, I lose power, so the car starts slowing, but it just takes the momentum.
Right.
And they couldn't believe it. I was like, run my car. And they were like, every lane. I was like, every lane, full punch.
Right.
They couldn't believe it. And I'm like, I don't know how it works, but it's.
See, if you just had a choke on your controller, you could have went down there and turned it down to 12 and then turn it back up.
Right.
Bypass button, I guess.
Yeah, that's too much for me.
I hear you. I'm just saying.
Oh, I know.
Because like you said, you were able to go through there because you were losing contact.
Yep.
But if you don't want to lose contact, then you just set it up for the other turn.
Right.
For that
But
turn,
now, there was a couple times that it kind of screwed me because if we had a track call and I was down there,
right,
I tell them, you got to push my car. Either that or I tell them, back my car up.
right,
And they're like, oh. And I was like, well, I can't go forward.
right.
Back me up.
Contact.
Yep. Yeah, they had a little track damage down there, and they went and roto-rootered it, and that's all they did was that one turn.
Right.
So, hey, I think you may have raced on that track because it was the track that was in Anderson, South Carolina.
I didn't race on the track. I don't even think I ran any practice laps on that oval.
Yeah, on the tri-oval.
I was down there when they had the Nats, I think, in 2002.
Right. I love that tri-oval. I think Randy has it now.
In storage or something?
Yeah.
Okay. I ran laps on the
Paperclip. And see, I never ran any laps on the paperclip.
I ran some laps on the paperclip. As a matter of fact, I think that was the first paperclip I'd ever ran on.
I ran laps on the King because they had it in Anderson. They shut down. I don't know where it went after that, but I know there's a track in Eden, North Carolina that had it, and I raced on it again in Eden.
Well, if I remember correctly, that King track came from CRP Raceway, which Lee Roberts had a raceway, Alabama, for a very short time. They had a big, well, it was supposed to be a big wing car race, but it was okay, but it wasn't as big as they thought it was going to be.
Right.
I know Chris Barnes had won the box stock race on that at that race. Like, it was a big cool. Chris.
Right.
And I think Boyd Johnson won 27s, and I don't remember who won the other classes. I think they ran box stock, Cobalt 12, Group 27, and Group 7. And it was like
you know where I would like to know where the track's at? Their Scorpion that they had, their flat track.
Okay, so the
last place I seen it, it was set up in, I want to say it was set up in Pickens, or maybe it was set up in Easley, at a track that we went to for Mid-South.
Okay, so
now
I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they got the King track from Lee Roberts.
Right.
I don't know where they got the oval from. They had the oval.
Right.
I think originally they had the oval, the paperclip. They added the King track. King track was the last track they got, I think. And then I think they got it wasn't called the Scorpion, but I don't recall that track being called the Scorpion when they had.
It may not have been called, but for whatever reason.
Right. So the first time any of us ever seen that track was when we went to the 94 Nats in Atlanta, or unless you went to a warm-up race or maybe an AMSRA race or something back then, because it was at Joe Reed's Raceway. And then when he hosted the 94 Nats, he moved the flat track and the King track to I think it was a Holiday Inn.
Mm-hmm.
We're in that. But I had went down there previously and ran a warm-up race at Joe's actual raceway. Fast Tracks is what it was called.
Right.
So then after that Nats was over, Joe sold the tracks. And I don't know when Anderson wound up with that flat track. I don't know if there was some owners in between Joe and I can see the kid's face. I can't think of his name. Him and his dad owned Gary.
Yeah, because Gary, and now that you got me thinking about, because I raced with him.
Okay. So anyway, they have the Nats, I think, in 2002.
Right.
And so we go down there, and like I said, that track was there. And, Gronsky knew the track because he'd already won on it. I knew the track. I already won on it, but I wasn't racing at that time. I was just winning. And after they had their Nats, I believe that Scorpion wound up in Indianapolis at Indy slots, but it never. I don't think it ever got set up. I think they bought the track.
Yeah, because see, after it left Anderson, it went to Pickens or Easley because it was set up there because Roger Cleveland ran on it. And he's like, I remember now why I don't like the flat track.
Well, what I'm saying, okay, so
And then from there, I don't know where it went.
okay, maybe I should. Okay, I think now that I think about it, it went from Atlanta to Indianapolis.
Gotcha.
Never got used, and I don't know where it went to after it was Indianapolis. So it could have went back down to South Carolina, or it could have went anywhere.
This is after Anderson had it.
This would have been before Anderson had it.
Hang on, I'm about to.
Okay, so we raced it on Joe's in 1994.
Right. I gotta plug my phone in.
You got to plug the phone in. You're dying. He's dying.
Yeah.
So
Pre-show.
yeah. Oh,
There
so
we go.
Had the
All
Nats,
right.
they had the Nats in '94 on it, and then it came to Indy before it went to Anderson in 2000 whatever two because
Okay.
Anderson held the Nats I think in 2002 without looking it up.
Right.
But I don't know if they had the track there in 2001, 2000.
Right. I got you.
Okay,
Yeah, because I think I have to see whatever I
because
raced.
the Indy slots,
Easily.
they were buying tracks up,
Right.
storing them, having a big, not just a building, a whole strip center built.
Right.
In the anchor store was Indy slots in this strip center. So they had this super huge area for tracks. And they were buying tracks up. And then I think they got to a point when they started getting tracks in the building. This one doesn't fit. Let's sell it.
Right.
You know, I think they could have had 5 or 7 tracks. They were only going to use 3. So then they turned around and sold. So I don't know if the track went from Indy to Anderson, or if it went from Indy to somewhere else, then to Anderson. I don't know where Anderson. I should ask
Picked it up.
Chris Barnes may know for sure.
Yeah, because like you said, it was. Do you remember their last name? It was. I remember the dad's name was Gary.
Yeah, Gary.
And then like that, because that's going to bother. Because I raced with his son, because his son used to come down to Myrtle Beach.
I can't even think of the kid's first name, and I can see him like.
Oh yeah. Because he raced at Jerry's whenever Jerry bought the oval and just had the oval set up.
Yeah.
Gary, and I'm like you. Like I said, I raced with his son. Yeah, that's going to bother me.
Yeah, like I said, I can see both their.
If I knew what their last name was, it'd probably help me remember his first name.
I can't think what the last name was.
Yeah.
But we'll have the answer for next week's show if we have to. I mean.
Oh yeah, I would go pull out old slot car books from back in the day and look up his name.
Well, if you want to wait a minute, I can go get the name. Should we do that? All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Time out.
That just sounds funny.
Okay, time in. We paused for a second, so I go get the magazine. So it was Eddie Beard and Gary Beard. Gary was the dad, Eddie was the son.
There you go.
That Nats was.
As soon as you said Eddie, I was like, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
For some reason, I kept saying Eric, but I was thinking about.
And it was 2002. I don't know if we've got a good picture of the track or not. I don't think we do. I've got pictures of that track.
I need to see. Roger Cleveland has all of the slot car bulletin magazines from I think whenever they first started publishing.
Yeah, I've got them all.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because whatever I used to, so before I had a dependable vehicle, my vehicle was dependable enough to get to Myrtle Beach, which is 2 hours away.
Right.
And whenever it was longer for me to go to Myrtle Beach to a track, I would rent a car. So whenever I would meet him and ride with him, the spare bedroom he had underneath the TV stand, I mean, he had just all, and he would always laugh at me because I would say, all right, I'm going to bed. And then really I would go in there, I'd sit on the floor at the edge of the bed, and I would just grab the magazines and I would just look through the magazines and read the magazines. I'd tell him I was going to bed at like 9 o'clock. And then the next morning, we'd get up, get ready to go to the track. We'd get an hour. And what time did you finally go to bed? The light was on for a long time. I was like, yeah, I stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning reading slot car bulletin magazines, and he started laughing,
Sure.
So, and I got a couple of them that I'm in that I just got just because I knew I was going to be in them, and then I got others and stuff that I got just because the track had them just to look through.
And the raceway was called Electric City Raceway.
Yep, Electric City Raceway.
And let's see if they have.
Yeah, because I went to the actual track itself one time. Me and a racer that raced here locally, whenever I had a local track, we went there one weekend to race. And it was because when you would walk into the front door, the King was to the left,
Yeah.
oval, and then upstairs they had the paperclip, but it wasn't set up.
Okay. Well, let's keep on.
Yeah, because I remember looking upstairs, and I was like, "What track's that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's our paperclip." And they had a drag strip up against the back wall, and I think they had the paperclip and the flat track upstairs, but it wasn't set up.
Right. And see what's.
If I ain't mistaken,
See, I'm trying to figure out what they called that track. They had a name for it.
Whatever reason,
I don't see anything in the article about
it being called the Scorpion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to find if maybe there's. I mean, not even in the text sheets it says what track. Like.
Yeah.
Another
reason why I call it the Scorpion is because whenever I seen it actually set up, like I said, it was either Easley or Pickens. Roger was with me. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's the old flat track Scorpion from Anderson."
Yeah, there's no ad saying what tracks they have. And probably the issue before this, there probably was an ad for the mats and tracks and. Yeah, I don't remember that track ever being called a Scorpion, not even when it was at Anderson.
Right. Yeah.
Saying it wasn't, I just don't recall that.
Yeah. And I'm not, yeah, same with me. It may not have been called out. If it wasn't, I don't know where I got the name from.
Yeah, because I think.
Because I know the track in.
So I'm pretty sure when it was in Anderson, it had purple sidewalls, and I think they called it the purple something.
Was it?
I think.
I don't know.
Let me make some notes. I'll have to look this up. What was the track called?
Yeah. And I want to say, didn't Herman James win a national championship on that track?
In Anderson, maybe.
Yeah, so.
But not in Atlanta.
Right. I was gonna say, if he's watching this show,
I don't even know if Herman James was at the '94 Atlanta Nats.
Right.
That might have been before he was racing. Again, I don't recall him being in Atlanta, but I'm not saying he wasn't there. I don't.
Right.
I don't think so.
Many moons ago.
Right. So at that, yeah, because Goronsky won 24th and 32nd Eurosport. Terry Kelly won the Cobalt 12 Eurosport. Amateur GT12 was won by Jeff Wilson. Expert GT12 was won by Alan Oren. And they ran GTP. They ran amateur and expert GTP classes. And I don't know if amateur ran on the – I don't know if the GTP classes both ran on the paperclip or the track.
Yeah.
Expert GTP might have ran on the flat track. Amateur might have ran on the clean track.
Right.
I think the only thing that ran on paperclip was Group 10.
Was it?
I have to read through this article to find out.
Gotcha.
So, Herman did not win any class at that Nats. No.
No.
And I don't even think Herman was at this Nats.
No.
Herman James. Oh, I'm looking at amateur. Herman James and no.
No. Huh.
No Herman James there. Herman James did run 32nd Eurosport and 24th Eurosport. He had to run Expert GT12. No, his name's not listed in the 17th entry. Oh, no, yeah, yes, he did. He got second.
Okay.
Clear up there at the top. And then GTP, Ray Gilbert won that. And yeah, I don't see Herman in GTP. So they must have ran that on, I'm thinking they might run that on the paperclip, Expert GTP.
GTP. Yeah, 'cause I want to say Chris Bonds would probably know because I remember him saying stories.
Now, this
about
article will tell me. I just have to go through it.
Right.
And what's funny is you talk about, Scorpion track. Well, in this issue, the Nats winning Scorpion 3 from JK Products. And I don't know, I don't remember a Scorpion 3. Like, there was Scorpion 1 and Scorpion 2. I don't know.
Scorpion 1 was solid. The Scorpion 2 had the pivot.
Yes, and so does Scorpion 3. So I don't know. It says chassis number Pan JK20. Maybe it was a different pan or something.
Didn't they make some of them that were like nickel plated or something like that? You're getting old school.
Well, yeah, I mean, all his stuff was nickel plated. I mean, the one-piece car, the one-piece Scorpion was just stainless steel.
Right.
It was not plated. The Scorpion 2 came out. I think it was plated from the get-go, but it may not have been. And then now I'm kind of thinking.
Because you've ran the Scorpions, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Scorpions and Scorpion 2s.
Right.
And probably Scorpion 3. But I think the Scorpion 3. Okay. I don't have a picture of a Scorpion 2. I don't even have a picture of a Scorpion. Okay, so what I think the difference was in a 3. Well, see this part right here?
Right.
How it's angled or rounded, radiused more?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the difference. I think the Scorpion 2 had some wings out there.
You're right, it did.
And the 3 was, I think Chris Barnes, testing and stuff, cut them off a pan.
Right.
And it ran better. I told Jerry, like, hey, you got to make this because it's lighter or whatever.
Right.
Car works better. So Jerry went and had either.
Yeah, because I know, like, on the 4.5-inch cars that had
made, and he whacked those wings off the front. Because see, there's not a. Unless there's, hold on. Because there could be another picture of a.
Yeah, in the text section.
From a different race somewhere, but I'm not. Let's see.
That's one reason why I like those books, because they always had the text section.
Right.
That always showed what everyone was running. You can.
Well, like that's the Nats issue. So, so there is. Let's see what that say. No, never mind. So I can go to the front. So anyway, yeah, that was what the Scorpion 3 was. The cut off front end. That was the difference between a 2 and a 3. So there you have it. Eddie Beard and Gary Beard. Then I think there was a brother. Gary had a brother who was kind of involved in the raceway. Would have been Eddie's uncle, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But I don't, yeah. Again, I'd have to reread that article.
I know Jerry was like real close with them and all that. I know, and he helped out at the track.
Jerry.
Lord, what was Jerry's last name?
It was Jerry Beard.
No, what? I don't think it was Beard.
Okay.
Yeah. I got the CRS. I can't remember last names.
I can't remember yesterday some days.
Yeah.
Some days you don't want to remember yesterday. For whatever reason, good or bad. It's just maybe nothing happened. Or maybe something.
It's like at work, they're like, you just went to this job site yesterday. And I'm like, you realize how many job sites I go to in a day?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So.
But yeah, it's like just drawing a total blank on Eddie Beard. I mean,
Or like slot car racers I've met over the years on the slot car tracks. I mean, you got what 30 years,
yeah,
if not more, and I probably got close to 15 to 18 years, give or take. You know,
well, Derek
we'll be
has.
going some, and Bobby would be like, "Oh, you don't remember that track?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Old Derek probably has 60.
Who's
Just
that?
remember
Oh, yep.
Oh, and his memory might be better than all of us combined. Who knows?
Or what's the track owner from Racer Rama? Is it Racer Rama in New York? Who you said does these puzzles to keep his mind sharp?
No, no, that's Buzzy's Buzzarama.
Fuzzy. Yeah. See.
88 years old.
Yeah.
Buzzy is definitely probably the oldest slot car track owner in the country and world.
Well, we got the oldest slot car track owner, and we have now the oldest racer.
Right. And I mean, Buzzy, I don't think Buzzy really races, but Buzzy does run cars. So
Right.
he could be the oldest
I
U.S.
wonder who the oldest manufacturer is still running.
I think it has. Well, it's a tie. It would be just off the top of my head, not really. It's either Champion or Parma. Because see, Parma opened as a raceway in 1964.
Right.
Parma Model Raceway.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a few years, they started making products or packaging things.
Right.
And then when they put the King track in and stuff, it became Parma International. So it went from Parma Model Raceway to Parma International. So I think the name Parma International has only been around since like 68, 69. From 64, 65, 66, it was Parma Model Raceway. Maybe in 67 was. So, but it's still
Parma.
So
Parma owns Champion now, don't they?
right. But Champion started making stuff, I think, in 65. I think they actually made products.
Right.
Or Parma made products. And I know that Champion definitely had things in the distributor before Parma ever did. So, but Parma would make things and sell them in the raceway, not so much ship them everywhere.
Right.
So I think in the true manufacturing sense, Champion would have to be the longest
running manufacturer.
Yeah.
Got it.
Going by who's left and what's changed over the years because well, I guess you could say Lancer's in there somewhere. Lancer actually may be the oldest. Because Lancer started making bodies, I think, in 62 or 63.
Gotcha.
They were there at the get-go. And although Lancer, the company, it's not the same as it was then, because
right.
they shut. I mean, Lancer quit making, that's another history story. Lancer quit making bodies.
Right.
And then Bob Haynes years later went in and bought all the molds and still owns them to this day. And that stuff is available, or some of it, whatever you want to look at it. But, yeah, Lancer, still, a name that's been there since the beginning, even before Champion. Now that I think about it. So Lancer, Champion, Parma.
You'll probably think more stuff after the show.
Well, again, you have to sit down and look.
Yeah, I know. I was just sitting there thinking we got the oldest raceway owner, we got the oldest racer possibly.
Right. I mean, Mira's been gone. Mira's been gone for several years. Mira would have been in there.
Yeah.
They were still around. A lot of the companies that we know today just weren't there in the 60s. I mean, a lot of companies that were there in the 60s ain't here today.
Yeah, I wasn't in the 60s. I wouldn't.
Right. So there's a product list on the back of that. But, Lancer's on there. I mean, this was from 2002. You know, it's a Slot Car Bulletin. There's an Eagle ad with all the.
Right.
So, you know, Champion. Um, Champion. I'll tell you another. Not the oldest company, but a company that's been around since. And I'd have to do some digging. I don't know that Joel Montague was actually making arms in like '69 or '68, but he definitely in '70 he was making wind and armatures. So Cayman's been around since at least 1970.
Yeah,
And I would
Cayman's
put them about
top 5.
yeah, top 5 right now going down this list. Um, you know, Foz Gears was still around. That would be another one. Mira would be one if they were still around. Um, if Limpack was still around, he would be in there. You know, Limpack Fresh Cuts.
Right.
Out of Sight's been around since '74. I don't know if that might fit. That could fit in the top 5, but I don't know for sure. Pro Slot. Pro Slot started sometime in the early to mid '70s. Um, wow. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could, you know, as K&S, they're not a slot car manufacturer, but K&S would be one of the older companies involved in slot racing. So yeah, that's your that would be your thing. So yeah, that's another topic for another day. Age
You're
of
right
slot
here. You're
companies.
writing that one down too.
Or yeah, I think that was a very interesting thing. I mean, but I would say right now Lancer is the oldest, and then I think it would be Champion, then Parma, um, and then probably Cayman, and then probably a toss up between Out of Sight and Pro Slot.
Right. Yeah. Because Frank had it first, didn't he, in California?
Well, actually, Frank Pretzman had it first, and Chris Burlew. Again, this is in the works. That's another history show because
Right.
someone, I think it was Russ Martin a long time ago, says you need to do a thing on the history of Out of Sight.
Yeah, because I know we've talked about it before, just
I've been
on the phone.
gathering things from here and there to.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say more because it's a very interesting story how it all came about and how it all came around. And I think I've said this before on the show. It's not when I do the body thing. It's gonna be several body companies because 3 of the major players were all intertwined, although they didn't know it. They all came from the same place background.
Right.
So yeah, it's very interesting. And then you had other companies that did really well too, but they weren't intertwined into the kind of like the big 3.
Right.
So
Got
because
it.
2 companies, actually it's 4 companies intertwined, but 2 companies basically came because of one company. Well, okay, basically now I think about 5 companies or 5 total companies. 4 or 5 came because of one, and then 2 became because of number 3 company. So you had number 3 company, which kind of spawned or helped create two other body companies.
Gotcha.
It's like a Pulp Fiction movie. Like, you could start at the end and show the beginning at the
Right.
end, and at the beginning is the end, but it all
Works
fiction
out.
is one of the most confusing. I mean, I finally figured it out after watching it 3 or 4 times, but
I don't think I've honestly ever seen that movie. If I have, I don't remember it.
yeah, you got to go. Well, it has slot car racing in it. The scene where they walk into Jack Slim Rabbits or Rabbit Slim Jacks or something is the name of the restaurant, and they walk in and there's 2 slot tracks on the like kind of in the lobby area of this restaurant.
I have to look it up on the old YouTube.
Yeah, you can look up
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction slot car,
Yeah, that's what I was going to put in there.
and we've discussed this in the last year a few times on Facebook and various pages. I think Monty Oren built those tracks. I mean, Monty Oren definitely built the track that they used in the Tim Allen episode, Home Improvement, with the slot car.
Right.
And then I think the Pulp Fiction track, they might have been built by Ogilvy too. I can't. I've looked this up. I've posted, but I should remember it, but it's like it's not important to remember. So
Gotcha.
maybe someday we'll do an episode on the tracks that were used in the movies or movies that had slot car racing in them. You want to watch The Efficiency Expert if you want to kind of watch a cool movie with slot cars in it, because it's based in England and kind of a club setting and
Right.
teams. They have this big race, and it's a big thing to win this, like an enduro race.
Right.
So, there of course, there's the evil team that wins everything. Then there's the underdog,
Funny.
and there's the in-betweens. And the cool thing is when the car crashes under the bridge and comes out of the bridge or something, or it's going into the bridge, flying sideways, and it's a Parma Flexi chassis. It's like, wow, that's a Flexi chassis.
Right.
But you would think they were running scratch-built cars or something, like, to me, the movie seems like it's set back in time before Flexi cars were ever invented. But of the millions of people that have watched the movie, they don't know. And that movie has see, again, there's a name I should remember. The famous actor that was that ate people. Jodie Foster was in the movie with him. Hopkins.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, he's in that movie.
Gotcha.
So, all I got for this week.
I was going to say, on the eating people note, you ready to wrap it up? Speaking of eating, I'm getting hungry, but I'm not going to go eat people.
Next time you should serve them with fafa beans. All right, so what's the magic secret word?
Yeah, we covered so much different stuff.
Pick it.
We'll go with heat shrink.
Heat shrink. Cool. Heat shrink is the word.
Or you want to call it heat shrink, or you want to call it shrink wrap?
It's technically heat shrink tubing, but I'll just go with heat shrink because wrap or tubing, either way,
Right.
covered.
When you say shrink wrap, I think about what we got at work that looks like big rolls of saran wrap.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why when you first said it, you said shrink wrap. I'm like, he's taking shrink wrap.
Well, it's actually, it was heat shrink tubing is actually what it is.
That's why it threw me off for a minute, and I was like, all right, now I'm getting it.
But again, people, like, okay, when you would heat shrink batteries in RC cars, we would call it heat shrink.
Yeah.
Or heat shrink tubing. Or some people call it shrink wrap.
Yeah.
Like when they used to put that on the Parma 500 motors, to seal them before they went to the full seal. Shrink wrap.
Those things. Yeah, that's another story and another
Shrink wrap.
show.
Yeah, shrink wrap. That's what Ernie Pervetti called it, shrink wrap.
Yeah, just when I hear shrink wrap, just because the construction industry, I guess it's something totally different. You know.
Right. Well, yeah, okay, whatever. Shrink tubing basically is small diameter tubing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you get bigger, I think they turn into shrink wrap.
Is it?
Okay.
Gotcha.
Sounds good to me. I'll
Perfect.
make it up as I go along.
Yeah. As long as we know, they know, and we know, everyone knows.
So what's the magic word?
Shrink whatever you want to put after it.
Shrink, heat wrap, whatever. As long as it's heat.
Yeah, as long as it's hot.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Until next week, this is the end of episode 110.
You'll have race results. I'll have race results.
Number
Hopefully we
yep,
both
number
do
111. Yeah, we'll be back into experiences at the raceway at the previous week.
Finally going racing. I think me and Bobby figured it out 2 months off.
Yeah, I haven't raced since first week of June. So, well, no, I take it back. Went down the money race.
That was in July. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That was the last race.
That was my birthday weekend.
So really, I've only run 2 races through the summer, which I don't know when the last time was that happened.
Yeah.
So.
Okie dokie.
Till next week, everyone have good luck. Be safe if you're traveling. We'll see you next week. Adios.